Once upon a time, these two parallel lines of steel carried goods and passengers to the terminal of Canberra's Kingston Railway Station. Before the arrival of dual carriageways and international air terminals, the city was serviced by this track, a small 8.5 kilometre branch line which, at the time, left the busy Cooma Bombala railway line to the south and ended in the city centre. During the centenary year, the city's inhabitants will celebrate with fireworks, open events and grand openings. But what may be forgotten is that this link to the past, this one-time busy transport hub, helped build a nation's capital. This is All Stops to Canberra. 2013. Today the line ends in a suburb that is fast becoming the capital's most expensive and exclusive waterfront property and is quiet apart from the daily fast train to Sydney. But hidden away at the back of the rail yard, behind high fences and lines of vintage timber carriages, rests a part of the capital's forgotten history and a dedicated team of not-for-profit volunteers, the Canberra Railway Museum.
Well, the history of the Canberra Railway Museum goes back to the mid-80s when we established here on an old rubbish tip that from the industrial times when Canberra was being built. Yeah, the Canberra Railway line came into Canberra from Queanbeyan in 1914, which was used in the early days purely as a construction railway and to bring coal into the powerhouse, which still exists today. We have in our collection locomotive 1210, which actually hauled the first freight train into Canberra in 1914 when they opened. The line was subsequently extended up into Civic, past the St John's Church area there, and that lasted for a few years before the bridge over the river got washed away, and it was never rebuilt after that. Always finished at Kingston where it finishes today.
It was the end of an era. Many branch lines, once the pride and central transport route to regional centres, were closed in 1989 as part of a national restructure of the New South Wales railway system. With the Cooma Bombala line closed as far as Michelego, it was recommended that even the nation's capital be removed from a connection to the greater network. Thankfully, higher powers had their way and determined that Canberra, as seat of Parliament, retain a railway for all services to be enjoyed by its population. In modern times, the railway line into Canberra has seen a revival of steam, thanks to an unseen number of locals whose passion and dedication keep history alive for future generations.
Well, the ARHS is a volunteer organisation. Although we operate real trains and operate on the rail network, we are all volunteers. So we come from all walks of life, but we're all joined together by a common love of railways. Well, the Society owns 6 steam locomotives. This is our flagship locomotive, 1210, which was built in 1878 and hauled the first train into Canberra in 1914. We have a 24 class locomotive, which is currently on loan down at the Genie Roundhouse Museum. And we have 3 of the 30 class locomotives, 3016, which is our regular service locomotive. And we have 3102, which is our next restoration project. And also a tank version 30 class 3013, which will be restored at some time in the future. And of course the Bad Garrett locomotive 6029, which is currently under restoration and should be back in steam later this year.
One locomotive in particular has kept museum teams busy in the lead up to the centenary, with the goal of returning it to its mainline duties. Hours of hard work, sweat and oil have all contained the common passion for the restoration of this giant, once known as 6029. But this has been no easy feat, for this is a Garrett, one of Australia's and the world's largest steam locomotives.
Yeah, this started in September 2007 as an initiative by the Australian Railway Historical Society to get this locomotive going from scratch. We initially ran the locomotive in the early 1980s and it went out of traffic about 1983. The locomotive then stayed on site as a static display for quite a number of years. A few unsuccessful attempts to seek funding and to try and get it going, but then the Society soon realised that it wasn't going to be able to do that, so the initiative was taken to try and then fundraise it on our own and see if we get it going. So we decided that we'd give it a go. We got a team together of like-minded volunteers, and moreover we had to set up sort of a coordinating committee that would help with fundraising initially to give us the seed money to do the job, and it all went well from there. But we knew we had something pretty special here, being potentially the largest operating locomotive in the Southern Hemisphere.
This part of Canberra's history needs to be restored. It's very important for the current children particularly, and the current generations to understand that Canberra did have a railway and trains did have a part to play, particularly in the early development of Canberra. This was before the motor car is what the motor car is today. And one of the things we do here a lot at the museum is have school groups come through, because most school children in Canberra have never seen a train, never less a steam train. And so it's very important that we keep this aspect of Canberra's history alive.
The Canberra Railway Museum and its rail line need your help to keep the dream alive and history steaming into new generations. So why not come down to the museum or hop on a train to give the dedicated volunteers some appreciation of their efforts? It will mean a centenary's worth of work.